So we'll continue right away. And I thought that Matt might have had the fish because he had seen that the session after him had a title called Pond Hopping. But this is the pond, of course, between Europe and Silicon Valley. And I'll be a bit lazy as the moderator for the session. And I'll ask the panelists to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what the relationship of you, your region, your country, and Silicon Valley actually is. We have two people who have an organizational birthday today, and I'll start with the first one who is older, because Finland has a 100-year independence anniversary today. And Jukka, please introduce yourself and your relationship.
All right, thanks, Eric. I come from Finland, and Finland is a region in Europe. We're quite small. We're like 60% of North Carolina, so 5.5 million people. North Carolina is not so sort of famous for the fancy startups, etc. But we are trying to be that. I'm Jukka Häyrynen. I'm this director for startups at the Innovation Funding Center agency in Finland. We use annually about 140 million euros or dollars to boost the innovation of startups. And it's not slack money, it's not easy money. The guys need to tell and find the investors and tell us their milestones, and we have to follow the milestones. So we are really pushing the guys. As a small country, it's a small market. It's not a big market for any growth company. It's not big enough for anything. Actually, Finland is not a country, it's a country club. We know everybody there. But the demand is that we have to go out to sell the products and the companies and the services. And that's why we are pushing the teams to innovate, to try, kind of Steve Blankian way, to try to find the customer feedback first. And for us, I think Silicon Valley and the other key markets are essential for testing, finding the better fit for the market, and get the companies ready as early as possible to fast growth.
Thank you, Jukka. Country club with a sauna, I guess. We'll continue with Carsten. Your company or organization is called BayStartup. We should clarify it's not the Bay Area. It's Bayern and Bavaria in German.
You spoiled the whole story. That's because if I tell that name in Germany, it makes us more attractive being BayStartups than BayStartup. But anyway, I think we are coming from Bavaria. That means Munich, the greater Munich area, including Nuremberg and other cities as well. We have been helping their startups for quite some time. Our organization dates back to the end 90s, so we were lucky to have the first wave of startups in the end of 2000s that we helped as well. Right now we are currently helping about 400 startups every year that goes through our services, which are helping startups in the beginning formulate their business plan, getting their business concepts straight, as well as helping them get financing, which we do pretty successful with large angel network, etc. So mainly the startups in our area are very B2B related. When you compare this especially to Berlin, which is the other hotspot in Germany, where you see a lot of consumer-oriented things, I would call us a B2B hotspot of startups, maybe in Europe or at least in Germany.
Gianpiero, you're not helping startups, you're a startup, I should say scale up as well, because I know you have quite some investment on board. And on your website you say, search will never be the same. That means you're in the area of pretty big brand names here in Silicon Valley, right?
Speaking about search engines in Mountain View is like speaks to God in the church in Vatican. So it's a little bit delicate as argument. But yes, we are a company that choose to stay in Italy, to keep the company in Italy. We have patents in 44 countries around the world, including 2 family of patents in US. We raised 32 million euros by private investor, no venture, no banks, no public fund, 90 private investors. For example, this year we made the official application for the G7, for one of the most important events worldwide. So it's swimming against the tide. our story. And I think that is important for us. Was important the connection, the relationship with Silicon Valley, because of the lesson learned, and many lessons learned that make us able to build something that until few years ago could seem impossible, to create, to start and to grow a global company, global software company starting from Italy. We were also the first company ever admitted at the elite program of the London Stock Exchange without being a UK company. So we have many trailblazer point, so I avoid to speak about searching Mountain View, but if you want, I can do in another question.
Okay, thank you. Irene, you're the one who also has an organizational birthday. You told me this is the second birthday of Emilia Romagna being represented here in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, it's actually today. So we started here 2 years ago today. And Emilia Romagna is a region in the northern Italy. And I've been working for the regional government since 2010 for the internationalization of startups, mainly in Europe in the beginning. But then the startups asked us if we could help them not only in the European area, but also here, because Silicon Valley has always been the lighthouse for innovation, even in our region. So the regional government decided to accept this challenge 2 years ago. And actually, in the beginning, 3 years ago, they gave me the assignment to come here and study what was happening here. So how the European governments were approaching the same issues that we had, and how they were solving them. So how the regions and the countries were here, how many people were here, what they were doing, the activities, where they were going. And I came here, I met a lot of interesting people, and I came back with a lot of answers to the regional government, and they decided to actually invest here. So 2 years ago, to the day, we came here and we opened a hub. I am managing it, and in the beginning we were helping especially startups, early stage startups, to come here and mainly to understand Silicon Valley, the mindset, and to bring it back to our territory. Now we're expanding our support to SMEs, big companies, incubators as well, investors from Italy. So it's working pretty well.
Our time is running very fast. I want to do a very quick round on success criteria and KPIs. I mean, how do you measure your interaction with Silicon Valley? Maybe we'll just go along the line and do quick statements how you analyze it.
I think the only meaningful measurement is the success of the companies that are in the market here. I think that's a key issue, and that could be measured in two terms. One is the amount of investment they raised here, but even more important, how much revenue do they generate in the US market, and could they really develop, by these measures, could they really develop a presence here and build a business here?
Actually, yeah, same lines, but we could also start a little thinking about the startups. What the startup really needs is to learn and to execute things here, and learn to learn quick and get to the market. And then when you get to the market, then you get the revenue and value creation.
Yeah, we see both sides. So of course, it's very important, like all the results that the companies have. So how much money they raise, how much contracts they get. So almost 20% of the companies that we helped raised funding in Europe, here or Italy. So I would say almost half of them have partners here or customers here, so it was pretty good. But also, one of our biggest KPI, I would say, is how these companies then bring back to our regional territory what they learned and how they help the whole ecosystem to grow with what they learned.
Gianpiero, I think I will give you the next question, because I know you like to talk about lessons learned in your interaction with Silicon Valley, so maybe you can start on that one.
Yeah, yes, but there is also one KPI for us.
Okay, good.
Not being acquired by a Silicon Valley company.
That's a
because we want to keep the company in Europe, we want to grow the company in Europe, and we want to try to have a relationship in the future with the Silicon Valley company, because all the lessons that we learned by Silicon Valley were so important for us. But we believe that now is the time to have in the next 5 to 10 years a company of the scale of the big company in Silicon Valley, and Europe can do it, has the possibility to grow this kind of company. We believe to have one possible potential next big thing in information management in search, so we will try, obviously knowing that we can fail it.
In terms of lessons learned, anybody who would say here there's something that really we took away out of interactions with?
I think one thing that lessons learned is that Silicon Valley is not the only place where you can grow your company. So it's kind of the vice versa. You have to learn things, how to learn quicker, and then find your own market and where you can grow really.
I mean, in terms of lessons learned, or is it the negative ones, or?
It could be anything that you took away from interactions that you had here with Silicon Valley.
I mean, the more specific the support is for the startup, I think the more successful it is. That means it doesn't help much to go on a tourist trip and ride some Google bikes for 500 meters around and see that the sun is shining a little brighter here than elsewhere. I think it's more important to get into contact with the real right people that help the startups in their specific topic and their specific market.
I would say that the biggest lesson that we learned is how important the mindset is for the entrepreneurs that came here. Almost all of them, I saw them changing, and when they went back to Italy, they actually, almost all of them, they changed their business model and their company, and through what they learned here, because their mind was different, their approach was different, and that changed completely the whole ecosystem in the region. So that was huge for us.
What about plans for the future? We've learned a little bit what is being done right now, but I know that some of you have some plans expanding from here and doing more things.
Yeah, and we are currently working, setting up a program to even intensify these contacts, just in the matter that, or are based on the lessons learned, that we focus on the startups that can be successful here in the market entry and find smart ways for them to really be faster in that, not wasting their time traveling back and forth, but getting advice and help here to really address the market here with easiness, which does not need a presence on our end here, but it's a very individual program to take care of them.
Jukka seems to recognize that. You were smiling.
So yeah, this sort of, it seems like there's a kind of a mirror that we're talking the same issues here.
Sorry.
So we have learned.
We just met before, so.
Yeah, we have learned the same issues that you have to be quicker to learn and find kind of partners to work with. And having a Finnish consultant or a mentor teaching a Finnish company what to do in Silicon Valley just doesn't work. You have to come here and be a local and then get to talk with the customers or your investors or your competitors or whatever.
For the future, we have both plans internally in the region. We want to help other targets like big companies and incubators to get this mindset and then bring it back. And then also we're actually working with other regions in Italy to help them come here, to teach them how we did it and to give them like the whole project so they could replicate it here. Because our results are very big for Italy and they really want to replicate them in other regions.
Gianpiero, how do you avoid getting acquired? How do you acquire Silicon Valley companies into yours?
No, the challenge is huge, of course, but I think that company like ours that has the possibility to demonstrate that there is a different point of view to build new technologies, because we are working on something that we love to call natural intelligence, because I think that the artificial intelligence is the long tail of a fantastic technology that has more than 20 years and is the end of the past and on the beginning of the future. So we can have the possibility in Europe to build alternatives and different technologies that can probably help also the biggest company here to be better in the future.
We talked a bit about what we, from the European perspective, regions, countries can learn from Silicon Valley. What can Silicon Valley learn from us, Carsten?
I think industrial topics. I think it's way different addressing a consumer, which, as was said before, I think we in Europe are not as good in the digital world as we are addressing the needs of industrial companies, and the accuracy of design, the accuracy in the industrial field is quite a different requirement. And I think B2B companies that originate from Europe understand very well what the need of B2B customers are. I mean, data might be the new oil, but it's different. I mean, consumers are giving their data away almost for free without asking for any. This will be a completely different situation in the B2B field. When you look into the contracts, the lawyer and the companies will not allow taking the data away to any third-party company, and this will be a completely different thing.
And Jukka, it seems like Silicon Valley wants to learn from Finland, or at least from the Finland around, because once a year they charter a plane to get there, right, to Slush.
Yeah, this is actually a great place to sort of do a little bit of advertisement here. Slush is a sort of the event. Come and learn about the Nordics and the Finnish companies. The Slush, there are already over 1,000 VCs, thousands of companies, 7,500 visitors last year. In the early November in Helsinki. It is miserable outside, but it's inside, it's a circus.
So you can focus on the conference. Irene, Gianpiero, anything to add?
Yes?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, they learned from us the importance of the intellectual property. That was the first time in the history of a patent was in Florence in 1421 to Filippo Brunelleschi for a ship named the Badalone, and the first patent law was done in Venice in 1474, and the name patent comes from the Latin littere patentes, that means open letters. So they learn something, but mainly the importance of the intellectual property.
Irene, you will have the last word because we're in the red.
Okay, so lately we opened one new university. It's the Motor Vehicle University in Emilia-Romagna. So all the universities in the region and all the big companies like Lamborghini, Maserati, Ferrari are working together to build this. And Silicon Valley is very, very interested in what we're building there. So this is something that definitely they can learn from what we're doing there.
All right, thanks to all of you for this quick round of highlighting European regions and countries doing pond hopping every now and then. Thank you.